800-919-3776. Let me get to this Mike Tannenbaum sound that I mentioned. So, for those who remember, I used to do a show with Mike during the football season, New York Game Day. Mike and I every Sunday. Tom Bauer, who's producing this show, was one of the producers of that. And Mike and I, when it came to the Jets, we didn't always agree. So nothing's going to change just because that show has ended for the season and we're in the offseason. This was Mike Tannenbaum on Get Up today talking about what the dream scenario is for the New York Jets.
I have a dream scenario for you and your Jet fandom. So Jets take a pass rusher, let's say at 16, let's say they take a corner or receiver. Yeah. If you go back to what the New York Giants did last year, they traded up from the top of the second round into the bottom of the first at 25. If the Jets ran a similar play and let's say took 33 and 44, their 2 second-round picks, Greeny, and let's say went to Chicago at 25 and took Ty Simpson, who can now sit for a year behind Geno Smith. Now you have 5 years. You have that critical 5th-year option. One of the concerns about Ty Simpson, Greeny, is he only played 15 games. So imagine if you're the New York Jets and you get a pass rusher, let's say a corner, Ty Simpson, and now you still have 3 first-round picks next year. I think that's a dream scenario for Ty Simpson, who could sit and the New York Jets.
I vehemently disagree with this. Couple things. If the Jets take a pass rusher at 2, that makes sense. If at 16 they take a corner, after they just traded away Sauce Gardner, invested a 3rd-round pick in Azareye'h Thomas, signed Deshaun Wright this offseason from the Bears, traded for Jarvis Brownlee, and then, last year paid Brandon Stevens $14 million a year. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, please resign on the spot. Enough of the corners. The head coach is a former corner. You have to be able to coach the talent that's in that room. They've actually invested in that position already. So, no, they should not take a corner at 16 when, besides maybe Miami, the Jets have the worst wide receiver room in football right now. Any chance of Geno Smith taking the Jets to the promised land, which in the Jet universe to me is like 9-8, maybe sneak into the playoffs, he needs better weapons. The Jets are not bereft of talent offensively. That's what's kind of crazy. Between Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, to go with A.D. Mitchell, who I like, but he's not a number 2. Mason Taylor, who I like, another year of growth from him at tight end. A good offensive line. They're not that far away, but the idea that they take a corner, Mike lost me there right away. But the other thing he said, and the biggest thing, I don't think the Jets should be trading picks for Ty Simpson. I don't. I would not draft Ty Simpson in the first round. I like him. I don't love him. Unless the Jets love him, why are we trading future picks? And he's suggesting moving up to 25 and trading away pick 33 and pick 44. When the Giants traded up to pick 25 last year with the Texans, they didn't give up that much. They gave up 34 and 99 and a future 3rd-round pick. So why are the Jets giving up 2 second-round picks for Ty Simpson, who's made 15 career starts? There's a lot to like with Ty, and you could convince me, hey, take a swing in the 2nd round, no harm, no foul, if it doesn't work out. But you're going to trade picks to do it when you have all the needs the Jets have? And again, they have 3 first-round picks in 2027. And you never know for sure, but I do believe it will be a much better quarterback class. So why reach now? Unless you're in full-bloom love with Ty, which I don't think the Jets are, because if they were in full-bloom love with the guy, wouldn't they just take him at 16? Is Darren Muji that confident that he knows the board will play out, that no one else will take him before the Jets could, in theory, orchestrate this Mike Tannenbaum suggested trade here? And again, the thing with Ty Simpson that I think muddies the waters from a Jet standpoint, you're going to start the year playing Geno. When does Ty see the field? How many games does he actually play? How does he look? How do we form an opinion on limited amount of games, whether or not he could be the Jets guy or not? Because the reality is, if you're not sure and you have 3 first-round picks, you're probably taking a quarterback if it's a better quarterback class. Is this coaching staff even here after a year? Now, with the Giants, we had that fear. Dable made the decision that Dart was his guy. Shane orchestrated the trade. Didn't save Dable's job, but it did make the Giant job attractive for a guy like Harbaugh because Dart played well. Couldn't save the coach's job. They didn't win enough. But Dart playing well as a rookie enticed John Harbaugh to take that job. He's not taking the job if the Giants didn't have a path to a quarterback. No way. I don't care how much he loves the Giant organization or the Giant way and all that nonsense. He's not taking this job unless he had a quarterback or a direct path to one, which he wouldn't in this year's class because it's going to go Mendoza 1, and then after that, I don't know for sure if Ty is even going in the first round. So if the Jets drafted Ty Simpson and did what Tannenbaum suggests here, He sits and learns for the year behind Geno. Really, the entire year he sits and learns. So then in 2027, we have all these other quarterbacks. We have no idea what Ty is. Or if he gets in eventually at the end of the year, assuming the Jets aren't very good, which I don't think they will be, and they're out of it and they want to play Ty, how many games does he get? And the issue I have with Ty is people say, well, he's only started 15 games. So he's got to sit and learn. But how is he learning if he's not playing? See, that's the conundrum. Because I've heard Eli Manning say, no, the best thing in his career early on was that he got to play. So if he sits and learns, well, he only had 15 career starts in college to begin with. You could just see why, from a Jet standpoint, it's just a muddy situation. I don't know if the coaching staff will be here a year from now. And the Jets aren't like other teams. They have to operate differently. They have to operate like they do have 3 firsts in 2027. I know Muji was asked by reporters at the league meetings this week, hey, do you think about next year's quarterback class? And he said, no, not really. We're focused on right now. I could tell you for a fact that is BS. Every GM at that position is always looking ahead. Plenty of former GMs, including Mike T, by the way, have said this. If you want to argue for Ty Simpson, you could say, look, he played half the year injured. He was at 20 touchdowns, 1 pick prior. Alabama's O-line wasn't good. They finished 91st in sacks allowed. They had no run game. Their running game was 125th out of 136. Alabama's receivers had more drops this year than the previous 2 years combined, their most in 12 years. And the first 7 to 8 games, Ty looked awesome. But again, it's such a small sample size, and he'd be a historic outlier. Fewest college starts among first-round quarterbacks over the last 25 years. Listen to these names. Anthony Richardson, Mitch Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins, Mark Sanchez. And look, I love Mark as a Jet fan, but Mark Sanchez never lived up to being the 5th pick in the draft. He got carried by 2 great Jet teams, at least in the regular season, in 09 and 10. Cam Newton. Cam's the only name you could say definitively, yep, that worked out. But Cam had one of the great seasons in college football history that year at Auburn in 2011. Won the Heisman, won a national title. Cam Newton was a physical specimen. He was an all-time great athlete. And what never gets mentioned when Cam gets lumped in to the stat I'm giving you, he started 12 games at community college. Blinn Community College. That's not nothing. So again, there's just too many concerns I have with Ty to take him in the first round and to trade picks to go and get him. Now, if it only costs you like a third in 2027, and maybe like the Jets have 2 fourth-round picks this year, say they trade one of their forts and maybe like a day 3 pick in 27, all right, that's a different conversation. Again, the Giants did not have to trade as much as what Tannenbaum just suggested. The Giants traded their second-round pick and pick 99. So they traded 2 third-round picks. The Jets don't have a third-round pick this year. Thank you, Hassan Reddick. Thank you, Joe Douglas. But they do have 2 forts. I'm not trading the 44th overall pick, which is the Cowboys' second-round pick they got in the Quinn Williams deal. That's too much. You have too many needs. It would not make sense for the Jets to do that. And I'm someone who likes Ty more than most Jet fans. A lot of Jet fans I talk to every day on my YouTube channel don't like the idea of taking a quarterback at all. I would only do it in the second round. And if not Ty, there's no one else in this draft I'm using a first or second round pick on. That's going to be available for the Jets. That's worth it. Too many concerns. And the biggest concern is the head coach. He's got to win games. Is he even here? Are the Jets going to actually do what's in the best interest of Ty Simpson for his development? Or if Geno Smith struggles and Glenn's trying to save his job, he's going to go to the rookie quarterback so he could go to ownership and say, look, I have my guy. We just need more time, please. I would avoid doing it in the first round. The second round, I get it, because if you take Ty at pick 33 and it doesn't work out, you could draft another quarterback next year. It doesn't matter. He could be your backup. It won't cost you anything. You could live with that. Or maybe you could trade him to another team and recoup some of the value. You take him at pick 16, that pick you got him from Sauce Gardner. That's why you have that pick. You got to make something of that pick. You need players. The Jets had the worst wide receiver room in the NFL minus Miami. You paid Garrett Wilson. If you want to maximize that investment, he needs a running mate. If Jordan Tyson's there, you got to think about it, even with the medical concerns. If Mekhi Lemon is there, run the card in. Omar Cooper Jr., warming up to him from Indiana. I think he's solid. They need a weapon. But taking Ty at 16, or then going out there and doing the Tannenbaum, trading back into the end of round 1, and trading both your second-round picks is an egregious idea. Terrible. 800-919-3776. Artie in Brooklyn, first up this hour on the Michael K. Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Artie.
Hey, Jake, my man. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think Simpson is the next guy. But if the Jets take him at 16, I'm going to be excited. I want a quarterback that I could – Gino's not our guy, so I want a chance. I want what the Giants did. When they drafted Dart, right, you think all the Giant fans went crazy knowing that Dart was the answer? No, until he saw him play. So if you draft Simpson, whether they draft him at 16 or 33, if he is your guy, and I think that the best thing to do is I don't want to win 9 games with Geno Smith. I want 5 games with Geno and whoever you get as your quarterback for the future to play, whether it be Adler, whether it be Beck, whether it be Simpson. Now, Simpson's the better of all those 3. So whether you take him at 16 or do the Tannenbaum and trade, I don't like that either. I'd rather take him at 16 and use my other 2 picks. I trust Muji. Whatever he does, I trust. Because all the moves that he's made, it looks like he's got a plan. I just don't know. I have no idea. I'm dying to find out if he's going to take him at 16. But if he takes him at 16, Jake, are you going to be sitting there and knocking it just like you did that trade with Tannenbaum? Or are you going to say, hey, I hope it works?
Well, I'll tell you what, Artie.
Taking a call.
You got it, and I appreciate the passion as always. If they took Ty Simpson at 16, Darren Muji a year from now, if it doesn't work out, he doesn't get to say, well, we're just taking a swing. We got 3 more picks this year. Now, you're gone too with Glenn if it doesn't work out. And I like Darren Muji, but there's a difference in taking a quarterback at 16 and taking one that falls to you in the second round. It just is. You can't tell me on Ty Simpson at 16 unless everyone is all in on that decision. What I mean by that is this: organizational alignment from ownership down. This is the guy they identified. They think, yes, he's the guy to bet on. He might be an outlier. He might only be 6'1". He might only have 15 career starts, but this is our guy we all believe. And you know what? If you believe that, fine, but you better be right. Because then you don't get to be like, well, we knew we had 3 1s and 27, so it's okay. Because, again, what's the plan if you draft Ty Simpson at 16? The head coach said Geno Smith's taking them to the promised land. So when does Ty Simpson see the field? How many games does he get? What does he need to do in those games for me as a Jet fan to feel like, okay, we have our guy, and we're not going to take a quarterback with one of our 3 firsts? Oh, but Jake, they'll win too many games. They can't get Arch Manning. It's not just Arch Manning next year. And the Jets don't need the tank to necessarily have a top pick. What if the Colts just stink? Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles. Who's their backup right now? Riley Leonard? Are they bring Phillip Rivers back? The Colts could be awful. We don't know. There could be an injury to Dak, God forbid, or an injury to Jordan Love. The Jets get the better of those teams' first-round picks. Another smart thing that Muji did. They don't need to take Ty Simpson unless they're in full-bloom love, Dave Gettleman style. They want to make sweet and passionate love to Ty Simpson. That is the only way you could justify taking him at 16. And if you're going to trade back in, that tells me you like him enough. So wouldn't you just be better off taking him at 16 and keeping both your second-round picks? Wouldn't that make sense? Now, the Jets will probably take Ty Simpson because they usually never do what I would like them to do. But I just think it's too big of a risk. But again, if Muji's calling the shots and that's his guy and everyone's aligned, look, you better be right. That's what it comes down to. If you're right, nobody cares. If you're wrong, though, it gets used against you, and it should be. David and Elizabeth up next on the K Show with Jake Asman. What's up, David?
Here we go. What up, Jake, man? It's a pleasure, brother. It's been a little while.
David, what's going on, man? Hope you're well.
I'm doing well, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to make 2 quick points with you. I'm going to make the Mets point quick because the Jets point is much bigger for me. As far as Mets, I just think we're starting off slow. I really like our pitching. I like what's going on. I agree with you 100%. Simeon is not living up to the trade, and I think that they caught him like on a down year, and, you know, he's just declining. And I agree with you, man. He's not producing right now, but it's a long season. Let's see how that goes. I hope this whole beef with Lindor and Soto, they squash it immediately and get back to business because that's what I would want for my ball club. But what I want to say on the Jets point is this. I really want them to draft Bailey, but for some odd reason, I guess they want to go with Reese, even though supposedly Reese had not such a good workout with them. But I want to know from your perspective, why would you go with Reese instead of Bailey? And last but not least, just to say this to finish it off, I hope that the whole Ty Simpson thing is a smokescreen because it's a waste of time, just like you said. It's wasting a pick. We already know what we have. I hope Muji's smart enough to be throwing smoke screens and getting everybody involved, and he just goes somewhere else with it. And I hate how I feel like the whole NFL knows our game plan. I really dislike that. I think the last regime was putting it out there, but this regime hasn't done it so much. But I still feel like the NFL just knows what we're going to do, and I hate that, man. Appreciate you, Jake. Thank you.
Well, David, you got it. I don't know if the NFL knows what the Jets are going to do yet, though. I think it's going to be Reese. The betting odds reflect that. But it's not a lock. And who cares if they know? Right? Who cares if the world knows the Jets are going to take Arvell Reese at 2? There's only one player that's going in front of them before they pick. They get any quarterback in this draft not named Fernando Mendoza. Any player in this draft not named Mendoza. 16, I don't think anyone knows what the Jets are going to do because we don't know how the board's going to break with the first 15 picks. So I don't think that's a problem at all at this point. And look, Arvell Reese didn't have a bad workout with the Jets. People took a still shot of his pro day and said, oh, he doesn't have bend. Compare it to Ruben Bain. Same drill. It wasn't the same drill. I like Reese because he's 20, and I think you see the superstar potential with him. I'm swinging for the superstar at pick 2. I need a game wrecker, a guy that could be one of the best at his position in the league, and Reese is going to play a premium position. So that's why I would take him. David Bailey's really good. I think Reese can be great. But if they took Bailey, am I that upset? No. My dream is they actually trade out of 2, get even more picks. I just don't see a team coming up to number 2. It's not like teams are coming up for a quarterback. It's not a great offensive tackle draft. So I'd be surprised. Let's say hello to Ira in Staten Island. He's up next on the Michael Kay Show. Hello, Ira.
Hey, what's happening, Jake? So the biggest issue, when you mentioned it, the 15 games, if he had 25 to 30 starts, I'd feel a lot better. But the biggest thing is, as an organization, if they're in on him, and I would feel a lot better if it's just Musgrave, Wright, and Muji making the decision, and Glenn and Woody, they're not involved, but unfortunately they are. You got to take them at 16. I'm not giving up 33 to 40 like you said. I'm not doing that. I think Mike T, or with all due respect, not taking a corner at 16. I think that's a disaster.
I think Jet fans would have an aneurysm, Ira, if they took a corner at 16.
No, at 16 I would cancel my season tickets if they take a corner. That's on the record. But with Simpson, I get it. When are you going to get, if Gino's playing halfway decent, when are you going to get to see him play? Who knows? You got to. He'll probably take every snap in the preseason, which means nothing. Maybe you get to see him at the end of the year, but I just can't go into this thinking I'm not going to take Ty Simpson. I really like him, but I'm going to wait till next year because there's no guarantees. Because you know as well as I do, Dolphins, Cardinals, and the Browns, they're all taking quarterbacks, and the Jets are going to win more games than all 3 of those teams. So is Ty Simpson, do they feel better about him than maybe the 4th, 5th, or 6th quarterback in the draft next year? If they do, take him at 16, and you get the same receiver at 33 that you get at 16.
Ira, fair points. I'm not sure that's true about the receivers, though. It does feel like after the top 3 to maybe 4, if you want to include Omar Cooper, there's a drop-off. Now, look, the Jets need to do their homework, and if they like, let's say, Casey Concepcion from A&M or Jeremy Bernard, and they know he's going to be there in the 2nd round, all right, let's have that conversation. Denzel Boston from Washington. But here's the concern. It's not how you run your franchise, but we're Jet fans, so this is what I could bring up. The Jets' history of drafting receivers on day 2 or day 3, specifically the 2nd round, is grotesque. It is repugnant. It is an abomination. Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, Devin Smith, Steven Stonehands Hill. Like, my blood is boiling discussing these names. So the idea the Jets could just wait to the 2nd round to take a receiver, good luck. They used to just stink in general in the 2nd round, but Breece Hall, Joe Tippmann, Mason Taylor, they've hit on some 2nd-round picks of late. Finally. But I want a receiver at 16. If Ty is there at 33, take him. I'm fine with that. I understand it. I'm not trading up for him. And I don't want to take him at 16. And I'm not just going to assume that the Cardinals and the Browns and the Dolphins are all going to be worse than the Jets next year. I don't know if that's the case. Have you watched Aaron Glenn coach? When they were trying to win, they started 0-7. Like, Geno Smith's better than Justin Fields, but I'm not convinced. What if Malik Willis is actually good? Is Miami going to be the worst team in the league? I don't know about that. If you're the worst team in the league, like, everything's got to go wrong. And the Jets were the worst team in the league this year, and they still don't have the number 1 pick. Based on dopey strength of schedule percentage points, the Raiders by 13.13 are picking Mendoza at 1, and the Jets are sitting there having to wait, in all likelihood, I think another year to get their long-term answer. I don't think there's a great answer to all this. I do know the answer is not to trade 2 second-round picks to go back into round 1 to take Ty Simpson after they drafted a corner at 16, and Mike Tannenbaum thinks that's the Jet dream scenario. That sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like a nightmare. 800-919-3776. Brian in Rockville Center up next on the K-Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Brian.
Good afternoon, bud. How's it going? I am in step with you at every single step of what you just said, except for the quarter thing. But my point is we need to develop a football team. We cannot be going out with Ty Simpson, taking him at 16, and seeing what happens. And this is the reason why. If you look at, if he falls to the 33, I'm with you. We can take him. However, next year, big quarterback class. We need to develop wins and a culture and a team. If you think for 1 second that Dante Moore went back to college considering that he was going to go to the Jets this year, and that was influential on his decision, that could happen again next year. What if he goes out this year in college and tears it up, and we get the number 1 overall pick next year? You think they will? Arch Manning, the Mannings have done this already. If they win 2 games this year, that could be a play. I'm telling you, it could be a play next year where guys will force their way out of New York. So taking him at 33 is a little bit of an insurance policy, but I'm with you every single step of the way. We need a wide receiver. We need weapons. We need both of those second-round picks. And we need to win games this year and show that there is something going on in this organization.
All fair, Brian. The one thing I will say to try and calm you down is I've spoken to Gary Myers about this, who knows the Manning family as well as anyone. He's presenting Eli's case to the Hall. And Gary Myers told me on my YouTube show that there's no chance the Mannings are going to pull in Eli with Arch Manning. If the Jets are in position to take Arch, they're going to be able to get him. The fact that Eli lives 20 minutes from the Jet facility is actually an enticing thing about the Jets. Plus, if the Jets are as bad as everyone thinks they're going to be, and they actually do march for Arch and they're at number 1 overall, they're going to have a new head coach. And guess what? The job would be attractive if you can get Arch Manning and you have 2 other first-round picks, and the Jets are projected to have the second most cap space in the league next offseason. So they're set up. So as a Jet fan, I either want Geno Smith to give us the Ryan Fitzpatrick season of 2015, which is ironic because that year only happened because Geno got punched by IK and Mattapalli, or I want them to be awful. 6 wins does nothing for me. I'm tired of it. The culture wins that we talk about, they mean nothing. If Nick Folk missed that kick against the Falcons, the Jets have Fernando Mendoza right now. Culture wins. I'm good on that. Either overachieve and win or be bad for 1 more year, and we'll figure out quarterback and coach and keep them on the same timeline. Because the job will be more attractive at that point. They do need players, but I don't think that the quarterbacks are going to avoid the Jets. What's the better situation then if Arch tried to even do that? Cleveland? Arizona's great? I don't know about that. I mean, these teams are bad for a reason. 800-919-3776. Yankees up 4-1 over the Marlins in the 3rd inning. We'll keep you posted on that, but let's get right back to your calls. Let's say hello to Subi in Midtown. He's up next on the K-Show with Jake Asman in for Michael. Subi, what's going on? Happy Friday.
Hey, Jake, yeah, you mentioned you love Arvell Reese, but is he like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Because Myles Garrett's the only one recently who's been drafted high, who's displayed that prestige. From his post game, from his interviews, he doesn't seem as energetic as like a Sonny Styles, and a leadership point of view. Is that what the Jets need? Like a leader on the defense who can be like a Ray Lewis type? Because for a long time now, they haven't had a leader on defense. Do you think that
You don't think DeMario Davis is a leader? Harrison Phillips is a leader? You don't think Minka Fitzpatrick's a leader?
Okay, are those the players that are going to turn this defense around? Do you have confidence in that? And if it doesn't, is Aaron Glenn solely to blame?
Well, I think that those guys will help improve the defense, Subi, but I think what they need game changers. They need superstars. They have raised the floor of their defense. There's no doubt. I like a lot of the signings that Muji made on the defensive line. I think DeMario Davis, he might be 37. He's still a stud. Put on the tape last year. He could play. Minka's still really good. He's 29. He can give you 2 more good years. I think the Jets have improved defensively, and Glenn calling plays is a better situation than Steve Wilkes and even Wink Martindale. Wanted nothing to do with that. Let Glenn go down on his shield. You said play calling's your superpower. They got you guys. Go prove it. Reese is a guy you could plug and play anywhere, and I think he projects to be a long-term edge. His comp is Micah Parsons by many. Sonny Styles is awesome, but if you guarantee me he's Ray Lewis, then yeah, take him at 2. But I don't know if the Jets are going to use the second pick on a linebacker. Would I hate it if they did it? No, I think he's awesome, and he would be a great leader. But I don't know if Arvell Reese is not a good leader just because he's not as energetic in interviews. Go read what Matt Patricia has said about Arvell Reese, the Ohio State defensive coordinator. Said he's one of his favorite players he's ever coached at any level. So I don't know if that's fair why I wouldn't take him. If you take Reese, he will eventually be a leader, but as a rookie, he's not being asked to do that. That's not his role. That's why the Jets brought in a lot of veterans, because they didn't have leadership last year. They admitted that. They were devoid of leadership. So one thing they've clearly improved on, Demario Davis is going to be a captain. Minka Fitzpatrick, captain. Harrison Phillips will be here the whole year. He already was the de facto spokesman for the team. They have veteran leaders. They need superstars now. You're picking at 2. I think Reese could be a superstar. Let's say hi to John in Mawa. Hello, John.
Hey, Jake. How are you? Big Jet fan. To be honest, I'm a big Ty Simpson fan. There's only one trade up I would do to get him. I would move from 33 to 32 with Seattle, give up a 4th or a 5th just to get the 5th-year option. And quite frankly, I love 3 of the quarterbacks next year. I do. My issue is that we're going to win 7, 8 games, and if there are 3 teams in front of us, the 3 guys I like, the USC guy, I like Arch, but I really like Dante better. But if we win 7 or 8 games and we're drafting 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and there are 3 teams ahead of us, we could have 30 first-round picks. We're not getting those 3 guys. So that's my issue. I would squint and try and get my hands on Ty this year at 32, see what he's got, and if things fall off the cliff next year, you're not killing yourself by having Ty Simpson there and having Dante Moore or having Arch or having the guy from USC. So that's my take on it.
John, totally fair. Good call. If it only cost me one of my forts and the Jets have 2 of them, and you want to get the 5th-year option on Ty Simpson, yeah, I'm okay with that if your plan was to take him at 33 anyway. So that works for me. I'm not concerned, though, about, next year the Jets will win too many games and they won't be able to get a quarterback. Like, we don't know. One, they can move up. And sure, if the teams all in front of them need quarterbacks, like what happened with the Giants a few years ago, you're not going to be able to move up. But that typically doesn't happen. Famous last words, perhaps, but usually there's a team that already has a quarterback that has a bad year. Maybe there's an injury, and the reason why they're picking higher than they should. Like the year the Cowboys drafted Ezekiel Elliott, it's because they had a huge injury to Tony Romo, so they stunk. The Jets only have Garrett Wilson on their team because Seattle was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, and Russell Wilson missed most of that season, and the Jets picked 10th because of it. They had the Colts pick. They have the better of either Dallas or Green Bay. We don't know how next year plays out. Again, what if there's an injury to Dak or Jordan Love? What if there's a regression of Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles? Is it possible the Colts are worse than the Jets? So I just can't worry about, we need to get the quarterback now because next year we don't know. You don't know about anything. But I do know you can't take Ty Simpson at 16 unless you're aligned that he's your guy. You fully believe in him. You have a plan for him. Because, again, Geno's starting the year. When does Ty see the field? And when he does get in, is it enough of a sample size to form an opinion on what he is, or do you still have to draft a quarterback? I'm not trading a lot to move back into round 1, though. To me, that makes no sense. Mike Tannenbaum suggesting trading both the Jets' 2s to move up to 25 and take Ty there. It's too much. Wouldn't do it. If you love him that much, you just take him at 16. You better be right. Lee on Long Island. Up next on the Michael K. Show with Jake Asman. Happy Friday, Lee.
Happy Friday, Jake. How are you? Between this and your YouTube channel, I feel like you work 8 days a week now.
It kind of feels like it, man. But this is the best time of year, man. This is when you're a Jet fan. This is like where you look forward to the most.
Absolutely. Well, actually, I look forward to this month being over because all the smoke screens and nonsense that you hear, and everybody's got to report on whatever nonsense they hear. It gets tedious after a while. But I actually am in a complete disagreement with you and the last caller, and I think Ty Simpson's going to be an absolute bust. I don't think he's going to be a quarterback. I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole in either any of the first 4 picks. I mean, last year we already talked about it. He's only started 15 games. The last 7, he did not look good for half of them. So his completion percentage dropped by 20 points. His yards per attempt dropped by half. I mean, and they were stark. And it wasn't 1 or 2 teams that did that to him. It was the entire second half of the season. I think he's an undersized quarterback with an average arm, and he had a bad and he only started 15 games, and 7 of them he kind of sucked. I would not touch him this year.
To be fair, Lee, I thought he played very well in that playoff comeback against Oklahoma.
Yeah, but when you look at the numbers, once the coaches started to get some serious film on him, all of a sudden they had answers for him, and they were able to get the pressure. And I mean, one of his offensive linemen is going top 10 this year too. By the way, keep that in mind. I understand you talked about his offensive line. It wasn't as terrible as you make it out to be. I think the team just kind of figured out how to defend him because he's not that big and he doesn't have a big arm. And his yards per completion, he was getting 4 yards per attempt in the second half of the year. I mean, that's abysmal. I think he's going to be an absolute mess, and I think the reason he didn't go back to college is because he knows he got exposed, and he knows his draft stock would be destroyed the way Drew Allar's was if he went back to college. I think that's the reason he's not going back to college. I genuinely believe that. So I would avoid Ty Simpson at all costs, and I am all in for Arch, Dante Moore. I am all in for 2027, and I do think the Colts can be worse than the Jets. I think they could have the Jets. If the Jets play like they did this year, they could have 2 top 5 picks going into next year.
Lee, good call. Look, that's fair. If you don't like Ty, that's fair. I will defend him from this standpoint. Alabama finished 91st in sacks allowed per game. And Caden Proctor, the O-lineman you referenced, he's probably more of a guard than a tackle at the next level. I don't think he's going in the top 10 for what it's worth, but I could be wrong. Their running game was 125 out of 136 in college football. The last 3 years, Alabama had a top 50 running game. This year, they didn't. Ty Simpson's receivers had more drops this year than the previous 2 years combined. It was the most in at least 12 years at Alabama. Again, I don't want Ty at 16. I don't want to trade back into round 1 for him. But you could talk yourself into Ty. He also played through a serious injury. He had a back injury, which required him to take anti-inflammatory. He had to take an antibiotic for that, and that led to gastritis. So he went from 215 pounds to 190 pounds. He played through injuries. He's tough. He's the son of a coach. You could say, hey, he's the backup at Alabama. You're facing the Bama defense in practice every day. That's not your typical backup. You could talk yourself into Ty if you want to do it. The film for the first 7 to 8 games was elite. Better than Mendoza. So you could see why he's appealing to teams. I'm not going to go as far as Dan Orlovsky and say he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think that's nonsense. But I like Ty enough to roll the dice in the second round when I have 2 second-round picks. I'm okay with that. I won't kill the Jets if they do that. But I'm sure as hell not taking him at 16. And I'm definitely not doing the Mike Tannenbaum. 2 second-round picks. No, thank you. Played half the year injured, and it wasn't on a great team. So there's some selling points for Ty if you want to try and talk yourself into it. Let's say hello to Dave in the car. He's up next on the Michael K. Show. Dave, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening, man? I think the Jets should keep their picks right where they are. That's number one. I think their defensive moves were solid. I think the Raiders were so flawed it ruined Geno Smith. You don't take a guy who's thrown back-to-back over 4,000 yards and then all of a sudden he's trash overnight. We didn't expect Pete Carroll to hire his sons to be coaches and to be such a dumpster fire in the Raiders organization, which is what it was. But I want to make a point with the Jets in their division. I think the Dolphins are tanking. There's reasons to look up. The Dolphins are going to tank. The Patriots, I don't care what anyone says. They're going to have a real football schedule this year. And whatever's left of Drake May, who shouldn't have played in the Super Bowl because he wasn't healthy, all right, I think people are going to lock in on him, and we'll see what he's made of. And I think the Bills are just like the Ravens 3 or 4 years ago. You keep riding this quarterback until he's going to snap. They're waiting too long to put talent around him. He's good, but he's not that good where he can just take the Bills to the Super Bowl with the current staff.
So, Dave, how many games are the Jets winning?
How many I think the Jets can win? I think the Jets can win between 7 and 10 games.
Well, that's a big difference. Seven they've done many times. They have not won more than 7 in a decade. So that's no small feat. That's a huge range you're giving.
I think if they're injury free and Geno Smith is the Geno Smith he was in Seattle, the Jets have a good shot of winning anywhere between 9 and 11 games. I don't see a threat from within their conference. Bills will win, but the Bills are the Bills. The Dolphins and the Patriots, well, we'll see what Vrabel has in his second year as a head coach. They had the easiest schedule last year. All right, you threw a quarterback out there in the Super Bowl who wasn't ready.
But Dave,
you don't know what type of quarterback you're getting.
Look, Dave, you're talking to a diehard Jet fan who makes a living spending 4 hours a day on a YouTube channel talking about them. I hope you're right, but we got to be fair here. What have you seen from Aaron Glenn that you think he's the right coach that could have this magical turnaround? Who cares about the other teams in the division? The Jets started 0-7 when they were trying to win last year, and this head coach was inept. What gives you confidence he's figured it all out?
I have an answer to that. He hasn't figured it all out, but I do feel that an element of his staff, which even though he picked, I think some people bailed on him. And I think he's in the place that all Jet coaches have been in, and now he's just getting it a little sooner. Okay, so he's on the hot seat. If everybody's healthy and he can coach the defense without anybody interfering, outside of how he dealt with the press, okay, it's like, okay, the guy is a rookie coach. Let's see what he does his second year. You have guys in the league right now who are abominations at coaching. You have organizations that keep hiring horrible coaches. Give the guy a shot. It's his second year. It's his second year. Let's see what happens.
Well, Dave, I hope he proves many wrong, myself included, but I just don't think there's any evidence to support that. Look at the coaching search and how big of a mess that was. You know, over the last 25 years, Aaron Glenn and Hugh Jackson are the only coaches who won 4 or fewer games in year one and fired both coordinators. Want to know why? Because usually the coach gets fired. He doesn't get a chance to rehire 2 new coordinators. He'd be a historic outlier if he turned it around. The AFC East might take a step back. You're right about New England not being as good as what their regular season record was. But they're still better than the Jets. You saying Miami's tanking. Well, what if Malik Willis is good? Are they tanking? They gave him $75 million. Did they not? They're accumulating draft picks, but what if they hit on some of them this year? They had like 7 picks in the first 3 rounds. Miami beat the Jets twice last year. They can't do it again. And look, I agree with you to a certain extent on Geno Smith. I don't think he's as bad as what he looked last year, and he's certainly an upgrade over Justin Fields or Brady Cook. But Geno Smith's thrown 32 picks the last 2 years. That leads the NFL. He's going to be 36 this year. What if he's just shot? What if he's just Marcus Simeon with the Mets? Like, the numbers are trending down. Again, I hope he's awesome, and I think the best way to maximize whatever he has left is to add weapons and build the team. I agree. Don't take Simpson this year if you're going to have to trade anything for him. But, come on, they're going to win 10 or 11 games? If they do that, Aaron Glenn's the coach of the year in the NFL, and I'll be leading the campaign for him.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.